Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Guy Rubin. I'm hoping you can all see me. I'm coming to you directly from London. So good evening to anyone else who's in London, and good afternoon to everyone in America that's watching. I'm going to share a presentation I prepared today, and the topic is what is RevOps. So I hope you'll find it useful. It's only going to be about 10 minutes, and then I'll have some time at the end if anyone has any questions. So I'm going to jump straight in and try and share my screen, and let's see how we get on. Okay, so let me start by saying how excited I am to be part of RevCon, the very first RevCon, and all my team here at Ebsta are huge fans of what the team are doing at RevGenius. It's an amazing organization, and really excited to be part of RevCon and what you guys are doing. So really pleased to be here, and thank you very much for having me speak. Just to start by a brief introduction, my name is Guy Rubin. I'm the CEO of Ebsta. We're a revenue intelligence platform, but I've been in B2B SaaS now for over 20 years. And a little bit about Ebsta, we help thousands of companies really to not just build, but scale their revenue engines with an idea of driving predictable revenue. I'm sure you've heard that pitch before, but yeah, that's what we do here at Ebsta. And some of you may have already heard of us, and if you have, welcome back. So I'm going to start by answering the obvious question: what is RevOps? And I had a great explanation the other day, which I wanted to share with everyone. So I see RevOps now as really the conductor of the orchestra, and really the data, the processes, and the systems, the technology that you have across your business, across the front office of your business. These are all the instruments in that orchestra. And if you can get them all playing nicely together, well, then you get an amazing sound out the other end. So that's really how I see RevOps. It's about bringing together the data, the systems, and the processes across sales, customer success, and marketing, and having a consistent vision across the entire customer lifecycle. So why do we bother? What's the impact of RevOps? Well, don't take my word for it, but here's some independent research that talks a lot about the impact of RevOps on organizations. And the beauty here, as you'll see, is that it's not just about improving productivity of individual sales reps, but it's actually about increasing the ability for the organization to scale. And ultimately, that's about driving the ability to grow, but also the ability to increase profitability within the organization. And that touches the entire customer lifecycle as we go. And I'll try and explain that more in the next few slides. So where has RevOps come from? Well, where's the background behind this? Well, we'll spend a few minutes here. The RevOps really, I suppose, has come from a number of different areas. But I suppose from my perspective, SaaS has had a huge impact on revenue operations, not only in delivering all sorts of interesting technologies and data, but actually customers themselves are educating themselves a lot more before they enter a sales process. And as everything's now delivered as a service, less and less of a company's revenues are generated when that customer signs their first contract. It's much more generated over a much longer period of time. And so customers are educating themselves. We also need to recognize that your competition are able to compete with you on any feature or function or new facility or that you're able to offer. In today's world, your competition can compete in months, if not weeks. And so the idea that a particular feature or function is going to give you a competitive advantage isn't necessarily true anymore. What matters much more is the customer experience. And frankly, the customer doesn't really care whether they're being looked after by marketing or by sales or customer success. What they care about is having a consistent experience throughout that life cycle. And if you can deliver that consistent experience, then the customers are much more likely to want to stay with you rather than move on to a competitor. So when we look at where operations in the front office was only a couple of years ago, for companies that were investing in operations, they were siloed. And we saw marketing had their own operations, arguably marketing has historically has been probably the most data-driven of these ops teams. And in fact, it's not unusual now to see that the marketing ops function becoming the RevOps function, primarily because marketing is much more data-driven in most organizations, or historically has been, than sales and success. But these independent siloed sales ops or RevOps, marketing ops and customer success ops teams, the problem is that they all have slightly different data sources. They're all using different technologies and have different processes. And so where we're seeing the market move to is a consistent approach where RevOps takes ownership of all the data, all the technology, and all the processes across the entire stack. And by having that consistent view, we're able to help. The RevOps function is well placed to help the business to scale. Now, one of the mistakes we see consistently when we see organizations that are starting to put RevOps in place is that they don't give RevOps a seat at the table. RevOps is seen as a junior resource, and it's not unusual to find, the sales guy that's really good at the Christmas party, but perhaps isn't very good at selling, ends up getting this junior sales RevOps job. When in fact, RevOps isn't a subordinate role. RevOps is a very strategic role. It's an opportunity for you to, if it's done correctly, it's a strategic role that influences the entire front office of the organization. And so getting it right is vital. And it's important that the RevOps is seen, that the head of RevOps or the VP of RevOps has a seat at the same table as the VP of marketing, VP of sales, VP of customer success. And making sure that that function is seen as a strategic multiplier means that that the business starts to respect it as its own silo. So I thought it might be helpful to talk a little bit about the benefits of RevOps and where you're going from and going to. So I'll let you guys read the slide yourself in your own time. But ultimately, if you can have a consistent approach to things, if RevOps can has control over everything in the front office, you're able to make much better data-driven decisions. And that's because you've got accountability and visibility across the board. And one single source of truth will deliver you deliver your board a much more accurate way of understanding what's actually going on the ground. And all of this will lead to a much more consistent and predictable pipeline and the ability to forecast a whole lot more accurately. And ultimately, that's all about giving your customers a better experience. So hopefully none of that's new to you, but the impact of getting this right is obviously substantial. So here what I've done is I'm sharing what we call our 6 pillars of RevOps. These are the areas within that I consider that RevOps are responsible for. If any of you want this deck after the presentation, just send me an email and I'll share it with you. But these 6 key pillars are the areas that you want to focus on. And just like trying to get fit, there's no kind of tick box here. You can't just kind of, okay, we've dealt with data, it's done, and we can move on to the next one. All of these areas need consistent focus, and it's like an onion. You have to peel it back. You do well, and then you go again. And all of these areas you can consistently improve on as you go, and will have a direct impact on all of those numbers that we talked about earlier. So where do you start? Let's say you've decided that you're going to go away and implement RevOps within your organization. Where do you start? How do you get these things moving? Well, step one is you've got to get all the teams aligned. Everyone needs to buy into the idea that one consistent approach to the way you run the operation in the front office is going to serve the organization. And then the first thing I'd recommend you do next is to map the entire customer lifecycle. What does that journey look like from top of the funnel and marketing all the way through to onboarding and then renewals and cross sales and upsells? Try and get into the granular detail of what does the current customer journey look like, and most importantly, what data are you using at each of the stages? What systems are you leaning on, and what processes do you apply? So then once you've got these processes and data understood at each of the key stages, the next step here is to try and measure exactly where you're at. Okay, try and set a benchmark. And again, try and be quite brutal with it, right? Where are you really at right now? So then you're able to see if you've made progress as you move forward. And at that stage, you're in a position to start making change. And that's when I suggest you start looking at different technologies. Obviously, Ebsta is an option. But there's lots of different tools out there that can help you get the stack where you need it. And then it's about an iterative feedback process, okay? Incremental improvements as you go. And that will help you to have a rapid approach to the way you're changing the organization. So I'm sure I'm preaching to the converted when I've got everyone in the room here today, but the simple fact is that these small incremental improvements has an exponential set of results. And the beauty of RevOps is that we don't need, this isn't about more. This isn't about spending more money or getting more leads at the top of the funnel. The same 100 leads can actually double your ARR at the end of the journey if you can have these small incremental improvements at each of the stages. And you can see that here in this graphic. So small improvements in the conversion rates at each of the individual stages can ultimately, in this case, lead to more than doubling your ARR on those individual deals. So I hope that all makes sense. So coming to the end of the presentation here, what we've got is what I call our RevOps, what we've developed as the Ebsta journey of RevOps mastery. And one of the things we do when we engage with a customer is trying to get under the skin of exactly what level they're at, how much, where are they at on their journey of RevOps mastery, and where do they want to get to over the next 6 or 12 months. And trying to get under the skin of exactly where you are with the business at the moment is really important. Trying to work out where you want to get to and what's realistic is obviously another key stake. And once again, I'll share this presentation afterwards if anyone wants it. Okay, so before we wrap up, I wanted to mention that we've been doing this now for a number of years, and we've now got close to 1,000 customers on the Ebsta platform, and we've recently launched a benchmark report. So you can download it for free. It's at the Ebsta website, ebsta.com, and it's a report that's analysed over $100 billion worth of pipeline for customers in all sorts of industries in every vertical. And across the globe. So it's quite a lot to it. It's a big old read, but if you're interested in the benchmarks and understanding where you sit against your peers, I'd encourage you to download it and come and find that at ebsta.com. So that's my presentation. I hope you found it useful. I'm happy to answer any questions if there are any. And if you want to get in touch with me or get a copy of this presentation, you can send me an email at guyrubin@ebsta.com or reach out to me via LinkedIn. As I say, I hope you enjoyed today's presentation. It's the first time I've done anything like this, and I'm really proud to be part of RevCon, and big shout out to the whole team at RevGenius and all the good work that's gone into it. So thank you all for your time today. If you've got any questions, I believe I've still got a minute or two left, and I'd welcome anyone's thoughts or feedback on what we've said. Let's have a look if anyone has any questions. It's always tough to get the first one out. I'll be off your screen in 90 seconds, so feel free to share to throw any questions at me before then. Well, I'm not sure if the questions are coming through or not, but I can't see them. So I'll leave you guys to it. Thank you so much for everyone's input today. I know, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the rest of the presentations. I know I have, and they've been really an exciting and interactive experience. So once again, a massive well done to everyone at RevGenius, and thank you for having me in the presentation.